All right, top of the morning, and it's kind of cold. The weather here is kind of strange. Um, Yesterday, or actually a few days ago, it was like 80 degrees. It was like in the high 70s. And we're only talking like a matter of a couple of days. 75, 77, and then I think it got close to 80 or something like that. And then all of a sudden it went back down to kind of chilly again. It's just strange. It was so warm that we actually had to get the air conditioner out. It's just crazy right now. It doesn't make sense, but that's how the weather is in Washington. Another thing is, too, you will constantly mow your grass. Now, it's strange because you would think grass would need water to grow, but this time of year, it doesn't rain in this area. If it rains, it's a rare thing. It will go for several weeks, if not a month or so, before there's any rain this time of year, yet your grass will still grow. It just, you can mow on a Saturday, and then by Tuesday, because today's Tuesday, you're like, I got to mow again. It's because over the nighttime, it gets cold enough and you end up with, it's not necessarily morning dew or anything like that, but it's just somehow the ground just stays wet. And it gets wet overnight, and then you wake up, and it's the marine layer too. You wake up, and then the grass is wet, so it gets its water. Then later in the day, it's just hard dirt. If you look down, the dirt, the soil is just bone dry, but yet your grass just keeps growing. So it's frustrating because it's like you're not getting the rain, and your crops, if you're growing a garden, it doesn't really work the same way. Yeah, things will grow if you don't necessarily water them, but obviously grass has adapted to the weirdness of the weather here. Anyway, you guys don't care. Make sure you join the Discord. It's going to be down in the description box below. Noelle's up in Seattle. She had an early meeting up there. She left the house here at 7. That's one of the great things about living in Tacoma, is that if you need to be up in a big city, or what have you, like Seattle, you can just basically take off, go up there, and you don't have the super expensive living up there. There's a lot of crazy price changes and fluctuations going on right now up there. So a lot of people have written and talked about how their plans of moving up there has shifted and changed recently. And I'll talk about that in a different video, but that's not what this is about. This is an Ask Hershinoe. And this person says, hey, Hirsch, I had moved to Nebraska for a job recently. Prior to moving here, I had joined meetup groups so that I can actually get to know people. I know no one here. In those meetup groups, I started to get to know people and felt comfortable. I had already signed my lease and put all of the money in place for it. I moved here about a month ago, and I literally hate it. I want to move, but I can't. I have a job here, but I'm not liking the job that much. I hate it here only because I don't have any sort of friends. Someone had written you before saying it's hard to make friends in your 30s, and I am starting to believe that that is true. Where I'm from, I had a whole lot of friends, and now I go down to nothing. It feels very lonely here. What do I do? Well, one of the things is a lot of these meetup groups are probably not meeting up right now because of COVID. So that feeds into a lot. I'm assuming, I don't know. But that probably is what feeds into it, is that due to things like COVID, a lot of those groups that normally would meet up just are not meeting up because it's kind of a unique situation, right? A lot of those meetup groups will show up at like a club or a bar or a play or whatever, and all of those types of venues. And I don't know about Nebraska. I don't know, but a lot of venues are reduced capacity or closed or whatever. So that is difficult. Now, I don't know if you know individual people in these meetup groups that you could actually hang out with. Um, but that may be a start. I do know that people are flakes. When the person wrote to me about making friends once you're past 30, that is very true. And I think the reason why nowadays that is because of social media and phones. Social media and cell phones has basically made human interaction almost non-existent beyond those means. So, it used to be back in the day, if you had coworkers, your coworkers would hang out, that would be a source of friends. That's really not the case anymore, hardly, right? It's really not the case. And when it comes to, getting to know people and trying to meet people, it's almost impossible in this country. Now, if I went to Haiti and couldn't speak the language, couldn't speak the language, and there were people who had kept in contact with me for years with their limited bit of English. They kept in contact with me almost probably, definitely every week. I wouldn't say contact me every single day, but yeah, it's just a different mentality. Americans, especially, are people who are, I wouldn't just say Americans, but yeah, I'm not anything else. Americans just have lost this sense of a certain demographic, age demographic, has lost this whole sense of what it is to be in human interaction. Um, I was reading something about, or something popped up about our business. It was an order or something. But so it's almost impossible to make friends because people are so, even though folks may not be so much on social media, technology has made it so you don't have to really go anywhere and put forth any sort of effort. Does that make sense? So you don't have to go to the movies anymore because you can just sit on your couch and watch Hulu and Netflix. You don't have to go out and meet people and get to know people because you can just sit on your phone and do that and get your needs met. It impacts people dating because people have a hard time finding someone to truly date because you have a lot of men and women who get tons of attention from all over the world just by having social media. So their needs are met. So they were becoming to the point of being antisocial. And this is coming from an introvert. Society is becoming very much antisocial because even the most extreme extrovert are becoming antisocial because they don't need to necessarily go and meet people in order to have friends. Now, I think that is a bad thing. I don't know the whole studies that have been done about mental health and stuff like that, but the reason why we're having more and more of an issue with that is because of the lack of human interaction. You have to have human interaction, and we're talking face to face, that type of thing, in order to be a well balanced person. I mean, this isn't something I made up. This is just, it's always been known. So that is the reason why. That is the reason why. We've had tons of people that flick on us. You know what I mean? It's a sign of the times. It's a sign of the times. Now, you go to some place that's a little less modernized, if you will, and you don't really have those problems. You don't have those problems. You can, again, Haiti is a good example because people do have access to cell phones probably more per capita than they do here. That's the main source of getting, for people who may not have a job there, that's the main source of getting revenue to them because they may have family members or someone they know that live in another country that can send them money. It's the best way because roads a lot of times are not in the best condition. And people may not have access to a vehicle. It's easy to keep in contact with people who may be in, it may take you a whole full day just to get to one side of an area because the roads are so bad, but they can call someone and instantly get in contact with them. You see what I'm saying? So in Haiti, it's detrimental to have, it's almost as important for them to have a phone as it is for a lot of Americans to have a car. That's how important it is. So you have a lot of people on phones, but the difference is that they're not as heavily on social media as we are, and they use social media differently than what we do here. For them, social media is trying to kind of, they're on there showing them, some people do, but typically social media, and you will see this even in Asian countries, it's even in places like Japan, you'll see a lot of people maybe that's on there or whatever they're doing, but they still have close human interaction. And maybe it's because Japan is very dense in terms of population, and there's a lot of cities that are just, it's basically a country of cities. You know what I mean? So maybe that plays into it. America's pretty broad, but it doesn't explain really here how you can be in Seattle, Tacoma, Philadelphia, New York City, and you still have that same issue. And maybe in places like New York City, it's maybe less. I don't know. But I do understand what you're saying, that it becomes difficult. So you have this job, but you're kind of stuck because you signed a year lease. And unfortunately, who knows how long these places that you're wanting to go, that meetups are held at, who knows how long they're going to be in the situation that they're in. It's pretty difficult. Now, I remember at the start of the pandemic that people were very apprehensive of going out and meeting people and stuff like that. And now people are a little bit more open, but things are not so safe now either. You just have people are saying, forget it, I'm going to just do it. But a lot of times the people that they're doing that with are people they know. Excuse me. So they know those people and they've been friends with those people. Trying to make new friends is darn near impossible. You're going to come across a lot of flakes. So part of why a lot of people, if you're just an average everyday person, now if you're an extremely outgoing person like the guy I know in New Mexico, heck, he just brings it out of people. He is someone, I don't know how he does it. He's just able to get friends quickly. It's just his personality. He's very good at that. He would be amazing in sales. But that's just the way that he is. Not everybody is like that. I have another friend that's in Indiana, and he's like that. Now he's doing very well because he's a broker, real estate broker. So it's part of his job fits his personality. He's the same way. But most people are not going to be like that. Even Noelle is an extrovert, but she's not like that. You know what I mean? So getting friends, especially if you move to a new area, is going to always be challenging because people are going to be flakes. 99 times out of 100, that's going to be the situation. It's just very difficult. And the other problem, again, and I attribute it to social media, is if you may make friends with someone, but 100% of their communication is going to be through the phone or through social media. It's just, that's just kind of the way that it is. So social media has a lot of great benefits, but there's also a massive downside. One of the reasons why I didn't touch on it too much in the video about changes in our family is that we're thinking about moving. I'm not going to mention it just yet. I'm going to let you guys sit on it. But we're thinking about moving, and one of the reasons why we want to move, there's several, but one of the reasons is to be closer to people who are not like what I'm describing, where people are a little bit more warm. You see what I'm saying? Where people, the interactions are going to just be there. And it's not like you have to pull teeth in order to get interaction. Does that make sense? You get a sense of community. I think that a lot of America is losing that sense of community, unless you're in a small town. But a lot of America, you're losing that sense of community because of social media and because of cell phones. That's just the reality of it. I would say the best thing to do is, I would not destroy your life by breaking the lease and moving back and quitting the job and all of that. I wouldn't do that. If you like the job, I think, you You said you hate it. I don't know if you hate the job or you just hate the circumstances that you're in. And it could be that your view of your job has changed because of the circumstances that you're in, right? But what I would do overall is just basically put everything kind of on pause. I would continue to work and do what I need to do. And then what I would do is basically, unfortunately, use social media to kind of get by, right? So in those meetup groups, I would still keep talking to people that you may have been talking to, and trying to help stay somewhat sane. And then after that, I would probably go to a local coffee shop or something like that and show up quite often. One, you're supporting local business during this time of uncertainty. But for two, you're able to talk to maybe new people that will show up there. And you have people who have a routine. Brand loyalty is high when it comes to coffee shops. So you may into some people that go there often, and that's a start. Or you may have workers there who start to get to know you and they know exactly what you want every time you come in, right? That's a sense of community too. So you can kind of satisfy your needs a little bit by going into places like that and striking up conversations with people that you know. Here, we've kind of done that with our customers. Now, the one caveat for us are our customers. We've had people who come in quite often, and those people are very nice. Now, it may not be a friendship type of thing, but it's a sense of community. And so that has been amazing for us. But anyhow, that's the only thing I can suggest to you. The guy that wrote that, Ask Hershinoe, talking about, the fact that when you get to a certain age that, making friends is next to impossible. I would have to agree with that 100%. I would have to agree with that. And that's kind of the circumstance. And I would even go beyond that. Once you get out of high school, their path starts to split because people are going to choose different modes of what they're going to do in life. And it's self-discovery time. So a lot of times people lose touch with people if they were just kind of sort of friends. Best friends typically will, kind of stay the course if they stay in the same town. But if someone were to move just 15 miles away, sometimes that's enough for people to not necessarily keep in touch. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of the circumstance. But I would give it a little bit of time. Things are starting to open up a little bit more. Give it a little bit of time. Go to some of these local businesses, support them. But also, spend a little bit of your time there. Some of those coffee shops, I would just spend my time there, work remotely, or just, go into those shops and, go onto the Meetup app or whatever you're going to, and, try to talk to people from there. And then you may start to see some sort of interaction. But I agree, being by yourself in a completely strange town or strange area and not knowing people, yeah, that would suck. But anyhow, I think there's some things you can possibly do. Hope I answered your question. Make sure you join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.